All right, so are you ready to get into some seriously mind-bending stuff today?
Always up for a good mental workout.
Excellent, because we are diving deep into Plato's Allegory of the Cave today.
Ooh, that's a classic.
It is, and we are going to be exploring not just the allegory itself, but also, you know how it's still, like, crazy relevant to how we see the world even today?
Yeah, it's amazing how a story from, ancient Greece can still hit us right where we live.
Right.
Talking about like reality and knowledge and all the stuff that we just kind of take for granted.
Yeah, for sure. So to set the scene right, it all starts with this really vivid image.
Okay.
Imagine a cave, right? Pitch black, and there are people chained up inside.
Oh, wow.
Their whole lives, they've never seen anything but this wall in front of them.
So that's their whole world, just a wall.
Pretty much, and all they see are these like flickering shadows on the wall.
Shadows? Where are the shadows coming from?
Well, that's part of the whole setup.
Gaia.
There's this fire behind them that they don't even know is there. And it's casting shadows of objects they can't even see.
So they're literally living in a world of illusions.
Exactly. And the crazy part is they don't even realize it.
Man, that's got to be unsettling.
Totally right. It's like a powerful image of how limited our perception can be, you know?
Yeah, Plato's basically saying that we can get trapped by our senses. You
Yeah.
know, we mistake these shadows for the real deal.
But then things get interesting.
Okay.
One of these prisoners, he breaks free.
What happens?
He sees the fire, the puppeteers, the whole setup behind the shadows.
Whoa, talk about a reality check.
Right. It's got to be like both amazing and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, imagine like your whole world just being flipped on its head.
Yeah, wouldn't that be kind of traumatic?
I think so. Yeah, it's like waking up from a dream, except the dream was your entire life.
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah, Plato's using this to show like how challenging it can be to embrace new knowledge, especially when it contradicts everything we thought we knew.
It's like that moment when you suddenly realize something you've always believed is totally wrong.
Exactly. It can shake you to your core.
So he sees the fire and the puppeteers, but he doesn't just stop there, right? He goes even further.
Oh, so there's more to this.
Yeah, he actually emerges into the sunlight.
Outside the cave.
Outside the cave, a whole world of like blinding brightness and color.
Wow, I bet that was intense after being in that darkness for so long.
Totally. And this is where he encounters the sun,
Yep.
which is like Plato's big symbol for ultimate truth, what he calls the form of the good.
So he goes from like the shadows to the source of light itself.
Exactly. It's a pretty wild journey.
It is, but if I were him, I'd be wondering if the sun was just another illusion too.
That's a good point. How can you be sure of anything at that point, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's the genius of Plato, you know?
Well, what is it?
He's making us question everything, even our own perception of truth.
So it's not just about finding answers, it's about questioning the very nature of how we know things.
Exactly. And that's where things start to get really interesting, I think.
I'm intrigued.
But this guy can't just stay out in the sun forever.
No, I guess not.
He has to go back and tell the others what he's seen.
Oh man, that's got to be tough.
It is, right? He feels this like sense of responsibility, you know, like he has to share this incredible knowledge to like liberate his fellow prisoners from their ignorance.
I can see that.
It's like when you discover some life-changing information
Yeah.
and you just have to tell everyone.
Right, even if they might not believe you.
Exactly. But here's the twist.
Okay.
When he gets back to the cave, his eyes are all messed up.
How so?
They've adjusted to the sunlight, right? So he
yeah.
can barely see in the darkness anymore.
Oh, so he's gone from being blind to the truth to being blind to the illusion.
Yeah, in a way. And get this.
What?
The other prisoners think he's crazy.
Oh no, so not only was his own journey tough, but now he has to deal with their rejection too.
Exactly. It's kind of heartbreaking when you think about it.
Yeah, it really highlights the difficulty of like sharing new ideas, especially when they challenge these really deeply ingrained beliefs that people have.
Yeah, it makes you think about all the times in history when people were like ridiculed or ostracized for speaking uncomfortable truths, right?
It does make you wonder if it's even worth trying to enlighten people sometimes.
Right.
But it also raises some really important questions
Like what?
about the responsibility of those who have seen the light.
Okay.
Do we have like a duty to educate others even if they might reject our message?
That's a tough one.
It is, and it's something that we grapple with even today.
Yeah, for sure. But before we get too deep into that,
Okay.
let's take a step back and think about what this means for us, the listener, right now.
I like that.
Because this allegory isn't just some ancient story.
No.
It's like a mirror reflecting our own lives.
So if we're the prisoners, what are our shadows today?
Exactly what illusions are we mistaking for reality in our everyday lives?
That's the question we're going to explore next. And trust me, it gets even more fascinating from here.
Oh, I can't wait. Okay, so we've got this image in our heads, right? The cave, the shadow's the prisoner who breaks free. But let's get, like, down to brass tacks.
Okay.
What are our shadows today? What illusions are WE buying into without even realizing it?
That's a million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't think Plato gave us like a handy list.
Right.
He wanted us to think for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know? But I think one of the biggest shadows we grapple with today
Yeah.
is the sheer volume of information
Oh, tell me about it.
we're just bombarded with constantly.
Right. Social media news ads, it's like drinking from a fire hose.
Exactly.
How are we supposed to even know what's real and what's just noise?
Yeah, it's like we're surrounded by shadows constantly,
Mm.
carefully crafted narratives that are like
Yeah.
trying to shape our perceptions.
It's easy to get caught up in those narratives, too.
Totally. Especially when they confirm our existing biases.
You're telling me it's like we're all living in our own little echo chambers,
Yeah.
surrounded by people who think just like us.
That's a big one, the echo chamber effect.
It is no wonder it's so hard to have a real conversation these days.
Yeah, it can make us feel like we're in the right,
Yeah.
even when we're just surrounded by our own carefully curated shadows.
So how do we break free from that? Do we just need to, like, unplug from everything?
Uh-huh.
Go live in a cave, real one this time?
Well, that's one option, I guess.
Uh-huh.
But I think a better approach is to cultivate what Plato called philosophical skepticism.
Skepticism.
Yeah,
So not just blindly believing everything we see or hear.
exactly. It's about
Yeah.
questioning everything, especially the things that we just take for granted.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty healthy approach, honestly, especially in today's world. But isn't there a danger of becoming, like, too skeptical? Like, what if we end up questioning everything and we never actually believe anything?
That's a valid concern. It's a delicate balance.
Mm.
We need to be critical thinkers,
Right.
but we also need to be open to new ideas and new perspectives.
So it's about finding that middle ground
Exactly.
where we can question our assumptions without, like, falling into complete cynicism.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get this. It's about being thoughtful, not just blindly accepting or rejecting everything.
Right.
But how do we actually do that? How do we become, like, better critical thinkers?
Well, one way is to actively seek out diverse perspectives.
Okay.
So instead of just reading news sources that align with our own views,
Yeah.
we can try to understand the other side of the argument.
You mean, like, actually listen to people we disagree with?
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, that's not always easy.
I know it can be uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but it's essential if we want to break free from our own personal caves.
Right.
Remember those prisoners in the allegory?
Yeah.
They were comfortable in their darkness.
Right.
It was all they knew.
Yeah.
It takes courage to step into the light to confront uncomfortable truths.
Yeah, it's like we're hardwired to avoid cognitive dissonance, right?
It's
just easier to stick with what we already believe, even if it's not true.
Our brains are wired to find patterns,
Right.
to make sense of the world. But that same wiring can lead us to see patterns where they don't exist, to cling to beliefs that are no longer serving us.
So we need to, like, rewire our brains. In
It
a
was
way,
easier said than done.
haha, it is a process for sure.
Yeah.
But the more we practice critical thinking, the more natural it becomes.
So it's like building a muscle.
Exactly. The more we use it, the stronger it gets.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
So we're challenging our assumptions. We're looking for different perspectives. What else can we do to break free from our shadows?
Another crucial step is to develop what's called epistemic humility.
Epistemic. Okay, that's a mouthful.
Uh-huh. I know, right?
Break that down for me.
So it basically means recognizing the limits of our own knowledge.
Okay.
We can't know everything.
Right.
And we're going to be wrong sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
It's about being okay with that, being open to learning from our mistakes.
So it's not just about being skeptical. It's also about being humble.
You could say that.
Man, this philosophy stuff is deeper than I thought.
Uh-huh. It is, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's not just some like abstract academic exercise. It has real implications for how we live our lives, how we make decisions, how we interact with the world around us.
Okay, so we're getting better at thinking critically. We're embracing a bit of humility. What's, like, the next step on this journey out of the cave?
Well, the next step is where things get really exciting
Okay.
and maybe a little scary.
Uh-oh.
It's about taking action based on our newfound knowledge.
Okay.
It's about moving from the realm of ideas to the realm of like lived experience.
So it's not enough to just sit around and philosophize. We gotta actually do something with what we've learned.
Remember that freed prisoner?
Yeah.
He didn't just stay outside the cave basking in the sunlight.
Right.
He went back down to try and help the others.
Right, but they didn't exactly welcome him with open arms.
True.
So how do we balance this, like, responsibility to share knowledge with the potential for rejection or even harm?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
There's no easy answer. It requires wisdom, compassion, and a willingness to engage in dialogue even when it's difficult.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we're questioning our assumptions, we're seeking diverse perspectives, we're embracing humility, and we're taking action.
That's a good summary.
But I gotta ask,
Yeah.
what if all of this is just another shadow? What if we're just chasing illusions even in our pursuit of knowledge?
Now you're getting to the heart of it. That's the ultimate question, isn't it?
All right.
And that's what makes this whole journey so fascinating.
It's like even as we're trying to climb out of the cave, we have to be aware that there might be another cave waiting for us just around the corner.
Exactly. There's a never-ending process of questioning, exploring, and discovering. And that, I think, is the true essence of the philosophical life.
Okay, so we've talked about the shadows and, in the cave and how we can start thinking critically about the world around us.
Right.
But this allegory isn't just about spotting illusions, is it? It's also about what we do.
Yeah.
Once we start to see things more clearly.
Plato's not just, urging us to question everything and then just call it a day.
Right. He's suggesting that knowledge comes with a certain responsibility.
Okay, so it's not enough to just have those aha moments, those flashes of insight.
Right.
We've got to actually do something with them.
Exactly. Remember that freed prisoner in this story?
Yeah.
He could have just stayed outside the cave, enjoyed the sunshine, and forgotten all about the others.
Right.
But he felt this urge to go back.
Yeah.
To share what he'd discovered.
Right. But let's be real, that didn't go so smoothly.
True.
They all thought he was nuts.
Yeah.
So how do we navigate that in the real world? How do we share what we've learned without alienating people?
Right.
Or come across as like a preachy know-it-all?
Yeah, that's the art of it, isn't it? It's not about forcing our newfound knowledge on others.
Right.
It's about creating space for dialogue, for a genuine exchange.
So more like planting seeds than dropping truth bombs.
Exactly.
Okay, I can get behind that, but what's the point? If people are just resistant to it. Is it even worth the effort?
That's a good question.
And I think Plato would say that the effort itself is valuable.
Really?
Regardless of the outcome. The very act of seeking knowledge.
Yeah.
Of striving for understanding. That's what makes us human.
Oh, okay.
What elevates us.
So even if we don't convince anyone else, the journey of self-discovery is still transformative for us.
Precisely. And who knows, right?
Yeah.
Maybe those seeds we plant,
Yeah.
they will eventually take root, even if it takes time.
Yeah.
Maybe our willingness to engage in, thoughtful conversation.
Yeah.
To challenge our own assumptions as much as we challenge others.
Yeah.
Maybe that will inspire someone else to start their own journey out of the cave.
That's a really hopeful thought. I like that.
Yeah.
So to wrap things up, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with today?
If I had to pick just one, I would say this: never stop questioning.
Okay.
Never stop exploring. The world is full of shadows. Yes.
It is.
But it's also full of wonder and beauty, just waiting to be discovered. So keep your minds open, your hearts curious, and never be afraid to step into the light.
Right.
Even if it's blinding at first.
I love that. So to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Plato's Allegory of the Cave.
That's been a pleasure.
We hope you've come away with some new insights, some fresh perspectives, and maybe even a little bit of philosophical fire in your bellies.
Keep those minds sharp.
And keep searching for those truths, even if they're hiding in the shadows. Until next time, happy exploring.